get signed to a modeling agency, what's an international model contract, and what to watch out for in a modeling agency contract.
My name is Lucie Petit, I'm a French model in Hong Kong, and in this video I'm gonna go all in details about modeling contracts and what's the deal when modeling overseas. When you get a contract offer, the best would be to have it go through an entertainment lawyer to make sure that you keep your rights and everything is legit and legal. But it can be pretty pricey to do so I'm going to break down with you the most important points in a modeling contract to give you an idea of what to expect and what to look for. And make sure to stay till the end for the revelation of what I call the funky clauses, aka the questionable clauses, as I've seen some pretty weird stuff coming up in modeling contracts. Do you want to become a model? Become a successful model? Get all the tips you need on my channel. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button to get the notifications when a new video is out. 1. The basics in a modeling agency contract. The definition of the contract, the exclusive or non-exclusive representation for the type of jobs a modeling agency provide. I made another video about the difference between exclusive and non-exclusive modeling contracts, where I also talk about modeling fees. So if you're interested, I'll put the link in the description, you can check it out after watching this one. The contract period and applicable location. When and where? It needs to be clearly stated. Either it's for 1 year from the date it's been signed, or from this date to that date, and the exact region or country the contract covers. For modeling overseas, it's usually 2 to 3 months contracts, and the exact dates and durations can be negotiated. The agency commission, model payment, and taxes. How much? The payment for each party is stated, including the model agency or model scout if there is. The terms of payment should be specified too. How and how long until you're getting paid. Some agencies offer a fair payment within 45 days after the job is done. The same way you can find agencies offering a payment 90 days after the model has left. That means that if you go, for example, on a modeling contract for 3 months, starting from 1st of January, you may only get paid end of June. So make sure you agree on these terms before signing, or else negotiate. The insurance. Most of the time you are considered self-employed, so the agency doesn't provide any insurance nor pay any pension. You have to take care of that on your own. The job cancellation policy. That's the conditions under which you are allowed to cancel a job or not. Usually it says you are allowed to notify the agency from time to time of a non-availability for jobs. But once the job is confirmed, you need to have a decent reason for cancelling, like sickness for example, or else you must compensate them for the loss. You have the right to refuse jobs that contradicts your moral beliefs, but you should make sure the agency knows about it beforehand. For example, if you don't want to be doing any nude or semi-nude, or even lingerie or swimwear, or if you don't want to work with fur, etc. The termination of the contract is the right for the agency or for you as a model to terminate a contract before the original end of it. On the model side, it should be stated that you can terminate the contract by giving a written notice within a certain period of time, usually about 2 months. But on short-term contracts, this clause may not even be there, as the contract may not be long enough to cover the notice duration. But on a 1-year contract, it should be stated. On the agency side, there are different clauses that the agency can use to terminate a contract. The model stats. If you fail to inform the model agency in a change of your measurements and appearance, including scars, marks, or tattoos. For modeling overseas, your contract could be terminated immediately if your stats differs too much from what was agreed on. Also, you are not allowed to talk about modeling fees with clients or other models. You cannot share your contact information with clients, you cannot take other jobs but from your agency if you're exclusive, etc. Sometimes it's really hard to judge without an entertainment lawyer if some parts of the contracts are legit or not. So I'll get to these questionable clauses very soon, but first... 2. The specific clauses for international modeling agencies contract. The flight ticket advance. Usually flight tickets are paid by the overseas modeling agency and deducted later from your income. But not always. For an agency, it's a risk to spend money in airplane tickets knowing that they don't know for sure that you will work enough to pay it back. Usually, the closer you are to your destinations, the cheaper the tickets will be, the more chances you'll have for the agency to agree to advance your plane tickets. The accommodation, the model's apartment. Usually, the agency will pay you part of the rent for the model's apartment and deduct it later from your income. It's either a weekly or monthly fee. But it's up to you if you'd rather get an Airbnb by yourself, for example. In that case, you need to negotiate with the agency because they may not want to pay for it, knowing that they need to fill their model's apartment first. The pocket money. Because you only get paid later for your earnings, overseas model agencies give you a fixed pocket money, either weekly or monthly. Usually, if you earn enough, you can ask to increase that pocket money. But I'd suggest you to bring along money with you on that contract because usually pocket money is not that high and it's not enough to live comfortably out of it, believe me. During an overseas modeling contract, it happens so often to models that they struggle paying their expenses, like by the end of the week or end of the month, depending on when you get your pocket money. Sometimes it's hard to actually be able to pay for all your expenses. And I'm not talking about fancy expenses, no. I'm talking about being able to pay for your own food until the end of the month, until you get your next pocket money to be able to eat. The visa.
You need a valid working visa to work legally.
The modeling agency is in charge of it and will do the application on your behalf. But be careful, there's a lot of agencies that don't provide a working visa and expect you to work on a tourist visa. It's illegal, but unfortunately a lot of agencies do that, which leads me to 3. The questionable clauses. Model visa. Sticking to it, I've seen a contract where it was stated that
upon arrival in the country, model will automatically get 90 days social visa or 30 days social visa. This depends on what nationality passport the model is holding.
yes, because that's a standard tourist visa you get on arrival in the country. That doesn't grant you the right to work legally in the country. At its best, that allows you to go to the beach and do shopping. And then it was even saying,
if model's contract is longer than her social visa, model is required to leave the country for a few days, and upon arriving back to the country, model should be able to extend her social visa. This is called a visa run. No shit.
make sure you look it up and check the conditions to work in a foreign country. It's not because you signed a modeling contract that you're exempted from the applicable laws in that country. Extra fees. That was seen in a mother agency contract.
The model has been informed that the mother agency may charge extra fee from the client, and the amount of such fee is subject to direct negotiation with the client.
That looks super dodgy to me. I get it that on a modeling agency point of view, they have sometimes model scouts or intermediate agent that they need to pay a commission to, but then it should be clearly stated. Because right now, on a model's point of view, it looks like the agency can charge whatever they want to the clients and you won't get fully paid for it. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Next, model stats. I've mentioned model stats before, but I had a contract once that was saying that
The agency reserves the right to terminate the contract, return the model to her country of origin, receive full reimbursement of all expenses such as flight tickets, accommodation advances, and money advances incurred on behalf of the model.
Wait for it.
Should the model deviate more than half an inch, plus or minus, as accordance to the original measurements.
Guys, that's basically 1 cm difference. Like, really? Thing is, when I went for that contract, the agency actually measured me more than half an inch difference from my original measurements, but they measured me smaller than what I was on specs. And they were okay with it. Usually for modeling agencies, it's always better to be a bit under that you spec than a bit over. But anyway, I get it. Modeling agencies should have that right in case the model arrives and looks like a total different person from what was agreed on from the snaps they got from the snaps and specs they've received. But for a few cm, sending the model back home and having her pay for the tickets and everything, I really hope they don't do that. Because if they don't do it, there is still this clause they can use.
After 1 month of the model stay here, should the model deviate more than half an inch plus or minus, as accordance to the original measurements as when she first arrived, the agency reserves the right to deduct the model's pocket money to a lesser amount per week.
Run.
So if you've put on weight, the agency solution is to pay you less so you can start starving yourself. Brilliant. Immediate termination. The agencies can terminate a contract immediately if
The model engages in any illegal acts under any applicable laws in the country or any jurisdictions in which the model is working pursuant to this contract, such as but not limited to the use of narcotics or illegal substances.
yes, for a reason it's always mentioned in a modeling contract. I wonder why. The non-competition clause. That one's a tricky one.
For a period of 3 years following the cessation or termination of this agreement and during this agreement, you agree not to solicit or accept direct business from clients introduced by the agency.
To me, it just makes sense. Agencies are investing time and efforts pushing you to their clients, which is why they're taking a commission. This is not for you to go behind their back and steal the clients that they've introduced you. Now, 3 years, that's pretty excessive in my opinion. Usually, it's more about 1 year. There's also this non-compete clause.
The model should not carry out any modeling or talent work for any media and any other person, agency or corporation or entity in the country during this agreement and for a period of 6 months after the cessation of this agreement, unless otherwise mutually agreed and or approved and or granted by all the parties.
This kind of clause usually is not enforceable, meaning that it's in a contract, it's in there, it looks pretty and everything, but it's not applicable if they don't pay you any money, any dollar, any compensation for this 6 months where you will be unemployed and unable to work.
If it prevents you from making a living and contributing to society and tax base, then it's not applicable.
I have done my research for this video to give you a general overlook on modeling contracts and some of the weird stuff you can find out there. But as much as I am an entertainer, I am not an entertaining lawyer, okay? If you have any doubts, I encourage you to seek legal advice from a professional. But in the meantime, don't hesitate to drop your questions in the comments below. I'd be happy to help you with it as much as I can. Do you want to become a successful model? Make sure to give me a thumb up and check out this playlist to get you started. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!